Today we're installing an Edge part number 31000. This is a Juice with Attitude CS for a 1998 to 2000 Dodge Cummins. Now the 98 to 2002 Dodge Cummins is probably our most popular truck platform on the site right now. We sell everything from injection pumps to performance modules like the Juice with Attitude. Juice with Attitude is probably one of our most popular modules. This truck, this is one of our favorites. This is old Whitey here. This is our shop truck slash farm truck slash maybe try to find a dirt pile and jump it off of it at 100 mile an hour once in a while. When you receive your 31000, of course, first thing to do is make sure that it is the correct part number for your platform. Make sure you've received the right product. Open up the product if it is, and check all of the parts inside the kit and make sure you received all your parts. If you haven't received all your parts or you've received the wrong part number, give us a call so we can get you taken care of. We're going to do this video a little bit different because the 98 to 2000 Dodge and the 02 as well, the Juice with Attitude wiring harness sometimes can be a little bit overwhelming for people. But we're going to tackle it a little bit differently today. We're going to go over every aspect of this install. Stuff we've already covered before, but we're going to get it complete on one video. And I'm going to start with this harness here. This is the harness for the 98 to 2000. There's 10 different leads off of this harness. Okay, I'm going to go over every one of the leads with you. This gray lead here with the aqua end connector, this is your attitude connector for the CS. Okay. Second lead here, this is your EGT lead. Your EGT probe is going to connect into this. I'm just going to randomly grab leads here. This short lead with the 3-pin round prong, this is for your fuel pressure sensor. We'll show you that as we get to it. This ring terminal here, this is your ground terminal, your constant ground. This is for the pump wire on the VP44. This module does require you to tap the pump wire. We're going to go into that in detail when we get to it, but this is your pump tap. Your longest lead with the female spade on it, yellow wire, this is your key on power source. This goes inside the cab, fuse 9 I believe it is. We'll get to that. Your next lead, the shorter lead with the female spade on it, red wire, this is your constant power source. This will go underneath the hood, and I'll go over the fuse that you'll use for this. Goes onto the spare fuse actually. Next, this is our longest lead in the harness, and this is for our transmission temperature. That's going to be the first thing that we install today. We're going to go through that install and show you exactly where it goes on this 47 transmission. This next lead, this is your data link lead. On the 98, 99s, it's a 2-pin, but it's a triangle connector. We're going to show you location on that, how to install it. Also, that's something else that comes in your kit here is the jumper for.
Now I'm back.
Yeah, this is your jumper for your data link. You'll use this on the 2000 model year. The 2000s, it's a 2-pin, but it's a 3 connector hole there. This is the jump lead that you'll have to use to connect to your data link on your 2000s. And last but not least is your map sensor connector. 98 to 2000 trucks have got the round map sensor on them. So that's our last lead in the harness. Now every one of these that we go through, everything that we hook up, we're not just going to skim over it, because this is by far one of our most popular products. We're going to take the time to show you location on every one of these, how it installs, where it goes, and what it's going to do. So we're going to get started. Okay, first connection that we're going to make is our transmission temperature sensor connector. What we're going to do with it is actually going to go on the passenger side of the engine, and it is going to go down and get routed along with the transmission dipstick tube. Now this is only for you automatic guys, but we will route this with the transmission dipstick. That keeps it away from the exhaust manifold and also on the discharge side of the turbo. Before we do any electrical connections, we're going to remove both the negative battery cables. Now we're going to take you down and show you your transmission temperature sensor, where to install it. Okay, to install our transmission temperature sensor, and this is the sensor that'll come in the kit right here. Before you install it, you want to put some Teflon tape on the threads before you install it in the transmission. The 1/8 plug is on the back passenger side of the transmission right here, and don't mind the cow crap here. You're gonna lose a little bit of transmission fluid when you pull this plug, so have your temperature sensor ready to install pretty quickly. .11 metric to remove the plug. Alright, so we didn't lose too much fluid. Okay. So now you will need a 1/2 inch to tighten the temperature sensor up. You just want to snug it. Don't want to over tighten it because you will break the sensor off the transmission. Then you got a mess. It's an MPT thread, so it just needs to be snug. That right there. You'll notice on your edge wire coming to your transmission temperature, we're going to zip tie it right directly to your dipstick there. And now we're going to attach it to the temperature sensor that we've placed in the transmission. We get calls about this. We've got them for years, all the time. How do I stack the washers on the transmission temperature sensor? All right, the first washer that you're going to want to use is this fiber washer right here. Then follow it up with the brass flat washer. Then your wire is going to go on the transmission temperature probe. Then the lock washer and the nuts. The nut, it's 3/8, just tighten it up. We'll show you that, how to put that together. Assemble. Fiber washer first, brass flat washer next. Okay. Transmission temperature sensor wire on. Okay. Lock washer. And then the nut. We'll edit that out. The noisy compressor. If y'all feel sorry for us about our air compressor and you want to send a donation for a new compressor, we'll take a donation.
A new one?
Yeah, new one. My compressor, my new one? Just snug it down. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to zip tie everything out of the way here. Make sure it's not making any contact with the exhaust pipe or the exhaust manifold up top. We're going to just work from the passenger side of the engine back over to the driver's side and work up through your harness, because I just thinking about how you guys would be working on it instead of maybe it's how the instructions laid out. But Edge includes this boost elbow in their kits. This goes in the wastegate feed line on the turbo, which is located on the face of the turbo. We're going to show you where the inlet tube to your airbox needs to come off, 5/16, both the clamps. We're going to remove the stock elbow from the turbo facing now, 7/16 wrench. Turn it with your hands. Your edge boost elbow screws right in. Couple of turns there, hand tight. Then a 12 metric, tighten it down. And it doesn't have to be super tight either. It's the MPT thread on it. So just snug it up and put it about in line with your hose. Alright, we've got our Edge boost elbow installed into our turbo. Edge provides you with a new clamp for the rubber boost line. So put your clamp on the line, and put the line on the elbow. 1/4 inch nut driver to tighten up the hose clamp. And your Edge boost elbow is installed. We're going to leave the turbo inlet pipe off for right now, because next we're going to drill and tap for the EGT probe. Now we're going to install the EGT probe. We get a ton of calls on this, how to do it right. There's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to do it. We're just going to show you our way, what we do here at Thoroughbred. On the 24 valves, I'm going to go to the middle of the manifold. You've got 2 humps coming from the back 3, then the front 3 cylinders. I use where the front 3 cylinders converge here, going into the turbo pedestal. I'll go about halfway of it right there, center punch it. And then your hole size for 1/8 27 MPT is 21/64. Suggest using a sharp drill bit. Makes all the difference in the world. We get a lot of questions about how do we remove the shavings when we do this. It's really not that big of a deal. We use a dollar pencil magnet. You can find these at any AutoZone, CarQuest, Checkers, whatever you got in your hometown. They're usually up by the cash register where they've got all the air fresheners and whatnots and flashlights and junk. But I'll usually grab a handful of these when I'm in there. We wear through them pretty quick. They work real well. I mean, they work perfect for this. Pick up all the shavings on the outside of the manifold first. We use these size magnets because they'll actually go down in the hole, pull our shavings out of the manifold for us. There you go. Now we're going to tap the manifold. This is 1/8 by 27 MPT tap. I just hand finger tightened it there to get it started. And I use there's tap sockets for this, but a 3/8 12-point socket will work just fine for you. You just try to tap her straight. You want to tap a few turns. You want to turn a few turns. And then you want to back it out a couple turns. Help clear your threads and chase them. Be real careful with this. You don't want to break a tap off. If you got a tap missing a few teeth, looks like it's seen better days, you definitely want to go out and spend the money, buy yourself a new tap. And this is MPT, so it is a sloped thread, cut, angled, however you want to look at it. You don't have to tap this all the way to the shoulders. You tap it to wherever you're comfortable with. You don't have to go too far. If you tap it up plumb to the shoulder of the tap, it'll just about fall right in there. And so where this is a tapered thread, you don't have to go all the way.
I chase it, or I back it up till the tap frees itself back up. It's got everything clean. I'm gonna give it 2 or 3 more turns here. All right. Had left about 7 or 8 threads to the shoulders. Move your tap, get your dollar pin magnet again, wherever we laid that. Our pencil magnet one more time, clean off outside, go inside the manifold, get all the shavings out of the manifold. That's the most important part. This is your EGT probe that Edge sends you. This fitting is what actually screws into the manifold. You have a fine thread side, then a coarse thread side. Your fine thread side is what goes into the manifold. It is a 9/16 to tighten it up. Alright, you want to tighten it down, just get it real good and snug, a couple turns tight. Okay, now install your EGT probe. It's got a shoulder, take it down the shoulder, put your cap screw on. Now you'll want to angle it towards the driver's side of the truck. What we do is we actually just angle them straight back and then tighten it up, and then we'll run our EGT line along this stock wiring harness and zip tie it up there. Now we reinstall our airbox, our inlet tube on our turbo, and we're done on the passenger side of the engine compartment. Everything from here on out is going to be on the driver's side of the engine compartment. Alright, we're going to remove our air intake horn and our throttle position sensor now, because we're doing all of our driver's side connections of our juice with attitude. Removing the air intake horn and the throttle position sensor are necessary so you can access your injection pump to tap the pump wire. So 3 tools to take all this off is all you need. You need a 10, 11, and a 13 metric socket, deep well. Ten for your hold down bolts and your dipstick bolt. Just go ahead and throw that on the concrete. Your air intake gasket. Now your throttle position sensor, you're just going to unbolt it and set it out of your way. Underneath there's an electrical connector, so before you can swing it too far, you've got to get it unhooked. Alright. Take it and your grid heater all in one shot. And simply lay them out of your way. Alright, this is your pump tap wire. It's a gray wire inside of this sheath. The bottom of the Positap attaches to the wire, and the wire that you tap is the one that's actually closest to the block. So when we tap this, what we like to do is turn it backwards 4 or 5 turns, put a little tension on it, and then once we attach it to the tap, what that'll do is that it will unwind naturally and help you to get the wire started. All right, so now we've got our pump wire exposed here. We cut our sheath back, and you want to cut enough of that back to, you know, give yourself access so you've got room to work here, because this is important. Be very careful when you're doing this. Your pump tap wire is the Positap that Edge gives you in the kit here. You want to just separate the bottom side of this, unscrew it, and it actually goes on your pump wire. You want to turn it to where it's facing up towards you. So what we do when we tap the pump wire is we'll turn the wire, we will unwind the wire opposite of the direction that we're going to be tightening, so right tight and left loose, and obviously. So you just want to turn it in the opposite direction before you engage the tap, and that'll let it unwind naturally when you engage the tap. Like so. There you go. You just want to tighten it up, finger tight. So there's the pump wire tapped. Now we'll want to put our electrical connection back on our VP44. And that's it. You're done at the pump. Now we're going to attach our data link. We're going to connect our data link now. On the 98 and the 99 trucks, your data link connection will be on the front timing cover. It'll be at the bottom of the main wiring harness here. There's actually two connections on this. The triangle one, the gray one, is the one that we're going to use. There'll be a dummy plug. If nobody's tampered with it before, there'll be a dummy plug on it. So you just take your dummy plug off and connect the edge side of the harness. Push it on the connection until it clicks. Alright, there's your data link installed. Alright, now we got two kind of engine connections left now. This is our map sensor connection on the Juice with Attitude. The map sensor on a 98 to 02 Dodge is just about in the same place. It's right behind the fuel filter. Our fuel filter is removed here. It's right behind the fuel filter on the. It's made into the head of the engine here. Just disconnect it. Hook the male side of the edge harness into the sensor. Then the female side back to your stock wiring harness. And there's your map sensor connected. Now, we also have our fuel pressure sensor connector left. We're going to do something a little bit different here. Normally, on the fuel pressure sensor, most of you will have probably a fast HPFP pump or an Airdog Raptor. That's what this banjo bolt is for. It is actually to hook into the side of the VP44 at the pressure side. Now here on our VP44, we got an Airdog pump with filters hooked right into it, so we can't use the banjo connector, but we can use the fuel pressure sensor. The fuel pressure sensor will go in at the Airdog base, and we're going to show you where that port is. We're going to do it just a little bit later in the video here. Alright, now we're going to make our pyrometer connection. These have got screws and lock nuts on them. The nut size is 5/16 and it's a Phillips head screw. First off, after you've removed the screw and the nuts from the wires, you want to put your heat shrink on the long side of the connections. And you want to attach the sides. And these little screws, these probably aren't going to be something that you've got laying around your shop. You'll probably drop them, and you'll probably lose them, and you'll get mad, and you'll have to go across town and get some. And it may ruin your day for a second, but the moral of this story is don't drop them like I'm fixing to do. When you tighten them down, you just want them to be straight. Slide your heat shrink up. So heat shrink your connections. Good. All right, next connection is our ground connection. It's the only ring terminal in the harness, so it goes straight to the ground on the battery. All right, our last few under hood connections here before we move inside the cab. You've got two spaded connectors that comes with the juice harness. You've got one of them's fairly long and one of them's pretty short here. Your shorter female spade goes to your fuse panel underneath the hood, and it goes to a constant power source. Now in the manual it tells you to use a spare, to use the fuse mark, the 10 amp fuse mark spare. On our truck, we didn't have, the spare doesn't have power to the other side of it, so we're going to use the 10 amp constant, which is the horn. So you just remove the fuse. It supplies you with the mini fuse connectors. Just move it up onto the fuse and replace your fuse. Alright. So now we're going to attach our constant power wire, which is the shorter of the two spades. Then we want to make sure that it's going to have enough clearance. Now once we've made sure everything's going to clear, we'll reinstall our lid back onto our box. Make sure that your power wire got enough clearance. You're not going to pinch it, cut it in half. Now for your long spade connector, this is going to go back inside the cab. So we're going to route it through the firewall. This goes to a key on power source inside the cab. And we'll show you that when we get inside. Okay, now you'll want to attach your juice box to the main wiring harness, just like so, and we will velcro that down and get it out of the way and get it secure. We are also going to start on our fuel pressure drop here. What we're going to do with this is we're going to cut these wires back from the connector that actually goes into the pressure sensor harness, and we matched up the gauge of wire. We're going to splice in a wire extension that's going to carry us all the way back to our air dog. Now we're going to do that in just a second, but for right now what we're going to do is we're going to do our in cab portion of this and show you everything so we can finish up our under the hood install. Okay, now we've got our key on power source wire brought in from the outside here, and this goes into your main fuse panel on the driver's side of the cab here. The number 9 fuse is what we're going to hook to. We've already got our tap on it. We're going to hook our juice wire on here, and it goes on the top side of the fuse, meaning the tap, it goes on the tap goes on the top side of the fuse. So we're just going to bend that over and get our fuse panel cover back on. Okay. Next, for our in the cab portion, is our Attitude CS monitor. This is going to go back outside to the main wiring harness, but we're going to leave the expandable portion of it inside the cab because we've got enough wire to do that. So our green end of this, we run back out to the main harness, and we're going to show you that connection. Okay, now this is our Attitude CS monitor from inside the cab. We just hook it into the main wiring harness, and that's got all of our wiring harness done. Now we'll clean that up, we'll secure everything. This is actually our air dog wiring harness here that's so jumbled up here and in our way, but we had to make it to where we could get a good video. So we've got everything under the hood hooked up now, save for our fuel pressure sensor, and we'll get to that in just a second. We're going to finish this in cab side. Okay, we've got 2 wires to run inside the cab before we mount our CS Attitude monitor, and this is actually our cord for our Attitude. This male side of this goes to the T that we just ran through the firewall that had the green ends on it, where we made the connection there. So this is going to go to that T, to that junction block. Then the other side of it, we removed our pillar post here. We're going to fish this wire back through, and it connects into the back of the CS monitor. So we're going to fish this up, this pillar column here. Then our second wire is our OBD2 wire. All right, the OBD2 wire has got a flat plug on it. This end goes back to the CS monitor as well. So we're going to do the same thing with it. We're going to fish it up the pillar. This is our window mount for our Attitude CS module. We're going to mount this inside the cab. We've got our wires running up, our OBD2 wires and our CS connection. Run up the pillar here. We remove the pillar to make that a little bit easier, and also for you guys to be able to see it. So we're going to mount our window mount here. Alcohol prep your window, and the alcohol prep pad, it actually comes with your kit there. So we're going to mount our window mount here. Alright. Now your CS connections on the back side, there's a 6-pin, the small one. Just connect it up. Then your OBD2 connection, lock and tab goes down on it. Push it in until it clicks, and then to attach it to the mount, you just simply line up your grooves and slide it in. Okay, now we're going to hook up to our OBD2. This is only two connections we got left in the cab. Plugs right into the OBD2. We'll dress this up. Now our CS monitor will back down to our T block here to the open side. Okay, we've got our fuel pressure sensor mounted in our air dog. The air dog has a fuel pressure sensor port on the top of the base of the pump motor, and you'll have to excuse our pumps a little dirty here. Like I said, this is a work truck. So
It's a 3/16 plug, a 3/16 Allen head plug to remove it. Then you simply insert your sensor that comes in your edge kit. Now our wiring harness here, again, all we did to get it back this far is we just cut and spliced it and extended it back here. And that's got our fuel pressure sensor hooked up. Now we're going to get it in the cab. We've got our install finished. We're going to get our CS set up and all of our parameters programmed into it. Okay, so we've got our Juice with Attitude installed on our 99 Dodge. We've got all of our wiring cleaned up, zip tied up, our fuel pressure sensors in, everything's good to go. We're just going to give you kind of a quick rundown of some function on the Juice with Attitude. When you first fire it up, when you first start everything up, it's going to download your vehicle information and everything. Just let it work through all of its initializations. Make sure you don't turn any keys off. Don't turn the key off or anything like that, or disrupt anything. It'll have some disclaimers that you'll have to work through. Just make sure you read through those and agree to the terms. But now, just some basic function of the Juice with Attitude, just kind of a quick, just to get you started. To change power levels on it, it's your up and down button right here. See, this changes and it's shift on the fly. You can just hit up, changes you through the power levels. You can go back down the same way. You'll probably have some questions on setting up your gauges. You can set up the gauges however you want to. That's totally up to you. But when you get started, what you'll do is you'll hit menu here and you'll go down to options and choose your layout of how you want your screen laid out. You want to go to screen layout, and we did the 4 gauge screen here. Just hit enter and that brings up your gauges. Now if you hit enter again, what that does is that brings up your gauge location, and you can change the PIDs of the gauge. So just an example, hit enter again, lower left gauge, and we've got it at fuel pressure PSI. Let's say we wanted to change it to a different PID. Let's go to present gear. We'll change it to present gear and then hit exit menu again, and then you'll see lower left, gear 3. So there you go. I want to change it back to, of course, fuel pressure PSI. So you hit enter again, lower left gauge, enter, select new PID, lift pump fuel pressure PSI. There you go. Read through your manual, become familiar with your general function of the Juice with Attitude, and we hope you all enjoyed our install video. If you've got any questions, give us a call. Go Cats.